I'll tell you guys right now, I am in a hurry to record this thing because if you go on my Twitter and you'll see the videos of my dog. Well, right now he's currently taking a nap because I watched the finish of the race while I was walking him to try to de-energize him so I could be able to record this. So I'm on a time limit right now, buddy. Before he comes in here, he starts yelling at me. So we gotta talk about this Kansas race before Sky takes over. He's the king. So if he starts barking and everything, it's gonna be hard. And I still gotta edit. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. This is the first time the video is going up on Patreon first, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be Monday morning. So hopefully you guys aren't too mad about that. I had to give the Patreon something kind of nice, and I feel like you wait till Monday morning to watch a post-race review. That's okay. So if you guys would like to support the Patreon, links in the description below. And also thank you, Jeffrey, for being the new Patreon as of recording this. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about Kansas. It's a 1.5-mile race in May, so there's not a lot of big implication things to talk about, but I do want to talk about some things in the race that happened, and especially, with NASCAR and whatever happened in the tire situation. Because that's more of like a philosophy, or what's the word, philosophical, or a morality, like if you are race control. And I think there is precedent for this. Let's just talk about it right away. So there was a tire issue. I think it came off of Tyler Reddick's car. There was a loose tire, and we've seen this many times in NASCAR before. The tire rolls across pit road during green flag pit stops, and it rolls into the grass. Now, there is precedent for this. I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's happened many times, since I've been watching NASCAR. But usually there's always a caution. That from my knowledge, there's always a caution. And NASCAR specifically didn't want crew members going out and chasing the tire. That used to happen a lot too, where a crew member would go and get the tire. But NASCAR doesn't want that anymore. That's not allowed. So from just off the top of my head, I don't have any examples right off the top of my head, but off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure they throw a caution every time there's a tire in the grass. I've never seen them so blatantly let the green flag pit stop cycle through. It was like a 25 lap sequence of Chris Buescher waiting and waiting because he was the one of the drivers that were staying out. Him and his crew chief Luke Lambert saw the tire in the grass. Ideally, you see that, you strategize your race around that. You know the caution's coming, and NASCAR is in race control, just sitting there like, we're gonna wait. And we're going to wait for the green flag stops to cycle. Now, here's the morality thing. You want the race to kind of flow naturally, so you let the green flag pit stop cycle, and then you throw the caution. But that's not letting the race flow. In any other case, if we've seen this, when there's a tire in the grass, and that is a safety hazard, and NASCAR came out and said it is a safety hazard, you can't wait 25 laps to then throw the caution. It was a safety hazard 25 laps ago. Why are you waiting 25 laps? Now, instead of letting the race play out naturally, because there's a tire in the grass, and that naturally happened from a mistake on pit road, and the pit crew members can't go out there, and God forbid a car hit that, or something happens. It's very unlikely, but it's possible. Now you're manipulating the race. Because naturally, in the flow of the race, that should be a caution. We've seen it's a caution all the time. You cannot wait 25 laps. Just like if there was a piece of debris on the track, when you see the debris, you throw the yellow. You don't wait 25 laps. And I think that was one of the biggest things, is Buescher had to strategize his race around that yellow. You cannot, you have to at least tell them that you're not throwing the caution then. Because, that becomes really messed up. NASCAR completely screwed that up. That was really horrible. It didn't destroy Chris Buescher's race because he was able to get a good result, with the cautions late at the end. But what if there were no cautions and he was stuck a lap down? That was something that was really, really frustrating to me. And I didn't like it. And I think a lot of people didn't like it. And it's NASCAR again trying to out-clever themselves or whatever they're doing in race control. Listen, we know they're not the smartest. And they like to do things their way, and they have to give explanations afterwards, but it's just really stupid. And so hopefully they learn from that. And listen, you can't, if you have to call the race naturally. You cannot let a safety hazard be out there for 30 laps and throw yellow. That's not, letting the race flow. It's really, really bad. So that whole sequence out of the way. Let's talk about who dominated the race, who was leading. Keselowski led the whole first stage until Larson came up. in a last to first challenge. He went from last to the top 10 in 10 laps, and then he got up to the lead there at the end of stage 1. But Kyle Busch actually was able to get around him and win stage 1, and Kyle Busch actually showed the most speed I've seen from him in a while. And we'll get to that towards the end of the race. But then the rest of the race was mainly the Kyle Larson show. He was dominating. He had an 8-second lead at stage 2 at one point because he was really good through the entrance and exit of pit road and his green flag stop. He led most of stage 3. I mean, he was on rails. He was really, really good. You had the whole tire incident, and then you had a couple of late race restarts where, and I don't really blame Larson for this, everyone's full throttle. It really depends on what's going on behind you, and he wanted to run the top to protect that, and that was interesting. On one of the first final restarts, Denny Hamlin got in front of him, and then Denny Hamlin drove his car into the wall. So that was unfortunate for him. He ended up blowing a right front tire like a lap later, and his race was done. But I think even if Hamlin didn't run into the wall, I think Larson would have got him. But that brought out a caution. And then you had some some pit strategy. Keselowski came down pit road, Chase Elliott came down pit road, and they weren't too far behind. There were about 7 or 8 cars that stayed out. So there was another restart, and then another caution for a Stenhouse wreck. And next thing you know, Keselowski on fresh tires is in third, behind Larson. And now it starts getting a little bit crazy. And then another restart, and Larson falls back, and next thing you know, Kyle Busch is in the lead, and there's a lot of chaos going all over the place with another wreck. And now Larson's in third, and the final restart had Blaney in second, Larson in third, who chose the top on the cone. And then because of the package and whatever nonsense we're doing at these mile-and-a-half tracks now because of restarts, Larson thinks he could push Blaney. And to be fair, there was pushing most of the race through 1 and 2. But I guess the tires were a little bit older, and you couldn't do it as well. And Larson ended up not spinning out Blaney, but he got him sideways, and then that both put them out of the race. And Kyle Busch takes advantage of it. So, I mean, the end of this race is the epitome of what mile-and-a-half racing at NASCAR is now. I think Kansas is the best mile. Well, no, I take it back. Homestead's the best mile-and-a-half track, but Kansas is either 1A or close second to that. Very good mile-and-a-half track. I enjoyed the race. The package I prefer is not far from this. I would take a little bit less downforce, but not low downforce, and I would add a little bit more horsepower. But the package I prefer is very close to this package. I just hope for a new car that takes away side force and a little bit more mechanical grip. So, and I think you saw in this race, the package for this track works pretty well. It's these restarts that cause it to be really chaotic, and it becomes a lottery at the end of these races. I was a little bit disappointed to see guys like Larson and Blaney kind of suffer from that. And Denny Hamlin drove himself on the wall, but mainly Larson, leading the race, does really well on a couple of restarts, and then it all just falls apart because of all these, you can't control your destiny on the restart. It really depends on what happens behind you, and it's pretty tough. So that's not what I prefer, but it's entertaining. So, the whole line we talk about, what's fair, what's entertaining, what's sport. And like I said, the package ain't too far away. Add 50 more horsepower to 75 more horsepower and take the downforce down slightly, and the new car, that's what I want. So it isn't really that far away. And hopefully we see that next year. Looking at the race results, we have Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Keselowski, Matt DiBenedetto, who did really well today, and Chase Elliott in 5th. I want to talk about Chase real quick. I've been watching every race of the season except for Richmond. I did not watch Richmond because I saw how that race was playing out, and I was like, no, I'm not touching that. Elliott's been pretty disappointing to me. I mean, compared to Larson, he's not been anywhere near. Larson's been the best Hendrick car. But even compared to guys like William Byron, I don't think Elliott's been running that well. So I just want to point that out. We are multiple races into the season now, 12, 13, and he's not doing that well. So Elliott and that team have to step it up. They usually do step it up towards the later end of the season, but they really aren't running well at the moment. Running 10th every week is not ideal, and that's why I feel like he's running every week. So you got to do better. Truex in 6th, Tyler Reddick. For Reddick, I would say 7th is disappointing, not for the team, for him, because he's really good at certain types of racetracks, Kansas, Homestead, Darlington, anywhere you got to run by the wall, right? And you feel like if it's not a top 5, he maybe missed out a little bit. That's not blaming the team. I mean, he's really talented, and he's pushing that car, and he's doing really well. But, for guys like Tyler Reddick and, for example, Chris Buescher, who also does pretty well at mile-and-a-half tracks, I think Buescher with an 8th place with Roush Fenway is good, but I think Reddick, we could see him maybe win maybe finish top 5. So I think 7th would be a little bit disappointing, based off, the track that we were at. Buescher did recover. Like, he was the victim of that tire thing, and NASCAR completely screwed him. Luckily, he was able to get the wave around, I think. And there was 3-4 cautions at the end, so he was able to get back to the front with some good restarts, and he got a top 10 finish. William Byron 9th, Austin Dillon 10th. Daniel Suarez in 11th. Denny Hamlin somehow ended up in 12th. I thought his race was over, but I look at the results. He's in 12th after smashing the right front or the wall with the right front tire down. So, okay. Michael McDowell 13th, Chastain 14th, Busch 15th, and then the rest of the field. You can see Kyle Larson's in 19th from the incident with Blaney, who finished 21st. Logano had a horrible car and a horrible race the whole race, so that was kind of odd because he's been pretty good this season. Alex Bowman had issues. Austin Cindric at one point was running really well, top 15, and then he fell back to 22nd, and then the rest of the field. Bubba Wallace had a nightmare in 26th, and then everyone else, not really going to talk about other than I think Matt Mills in 38th. He went a lap down within 10 laps, so, that's challenging Kevin Conway levels. Not close yet, though. I have somehow made it through this entire recording without my dog barking. I have no idea where he is. He's probably in the living room. But he's being very respectful, and I really appreciate him for that. So, for the Patreon members seeing this Sunday night, thank you guys for supporting the channel. For everyone watching this on YouTube, again, thank you guys for supporting the channel. You don't have to go to the Patreon to support. If you could just, I know you probably want the post-race review right after the race on a Sunday, but the Patreon members have to get, they're literally giving money to the channel, so I feel like I have to give them something. So I hope you understand. It's only a few hours. It's one night. It goes up Monday morning, so hopefully you guys understand. You don't get too mad with me. And so, I just want to make that clear. I don't like making exclusive videos. I wouldn't say this is exclusive. I'm just moving. It's exclusive for a few hours, to the Patreon members. I hope everyone that isn't a Patreon member kind of understands that. You don't get too mad at me. Like I said, I'm just giving the explanation. And yeah, so take care of yourselves. And again, there's not going to be a race review every week. You want me to watch Texas and give a race review on that? I might, because it'll be a 15-minute rant. But there are some races I'm either not going to be able to watch or review it, or I'm not going to want to because it was very boring and I have nothing to say. But most of the races like Kansas and other good tracks, I will do a post-race review. So hopefully that all works out. Thank you guys for supporting the channel again. Subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you're not already, especially Twitter if you want to see videos of Sky. I got 2 videos up there of him. He's the king of the show. So if you want to go on Twitter and see him, go follow me on Twitter. See what he was doing during the race because he was getting pissed off. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your night on Sunday if you're watching this Sunday night. And enjoy the rest of your Monday if you're watching this on a Monday. And peace out.